everyone, this is Maki. Did you enjoy episode 2 of GQuuuuuuX? It took us back to events that happened about 5 years before Maki met the Gundam. Many Gundam fans were surprised by what was revealed in the movie. This time, I'd like to break down the fighting abilities of the powerful mobile suit pilots who appeared in episode 2. Just a heads up, there will be spoilers for the second episode. Before we dive in, let me make a quick announcement. I'm currently accepting members on my channel who want to support my work. For just 99 cents a month, you can get a non-meta and custom stamps to use in the comments. Let's take a closer look at the combat techniques of these ace pilots. This time we'll focus on Char GUNDAM and the pilots of the Earth's Federation forces. Char is such a legendary ace pilot that he hardly needs any introduction. As for the Earth's Federation forces pilots, their names and faces don't appear, but it's clear that they are skilled enough to be entrusted with cutting-edge classified technology. Let's take a look at the tactics they used in battle. First, the gun cannon fires its beam cannon at enemies so cool. Using a beam cannon inside a space colony is an extremely risky move. That's because beam cannons have a much higher penetrating power than metal projectiles. Punching a hole in a space colony could end up taking the lives of all its inhabitants. Even in episode 1, there's a scene where Ixby points his weapon at the Red Gundam and says apparently he is not the kind of outlaw who would use a beam cannon inside a space colony. And yet, the gun cannon used his beam cannon. This may indicate that protecting military secrets is a top priority, even if the colony is damaged. Earlier, before encountering the gun cannon, Char and Denham said we don't see any civilians. Were they evacuated beforehand? So at least some precautions might have been taken. The gun cannon's beam cannon hits Denham's Soku, causing damage. However, it fails to destroy it. It's open to interpretation why the beam cannon didn't score a direct hit here. When a mobile suit's engine explodes, it can easily puncture the colony's hull. Since mobile suits use nuclear engines, they can cause even more destruction than beam cannons. In First Gundam, the explosion of a Zaku's engine resulted in a hole in the space colony. In GQuuuuuuX, Char shares the belief that the mobile suit's engine should not explode and he attacks by aiming only at the gun cannon's cockpit. It's possible the gun cannon's pilot had the same idea. Or maybe Denham dodged the attack. We don't know exactly how skilled Denham is, but he remains calm on the battlefield. In First Gundam, Jin rushed into battle and attacked recklessly while sweating nervously, causing a lot of chaos. In fact, that chaos was part of what led to Ammo's first encounter with the Gundam. In GQuuuuuuX, Denham calmly avoids a rocket attack. He uses just enough movement to dodge the wire-guided missiles. So it wouldn't be surprising if he noticed that the enemy was targeting him and decided to dodge. Of course, there are other possibilities. The gun cannon launched its attack immediately after being deployed. It may have fired its beam cannon as an eye-catching diversion to draw attention away from the Zaku's attack on the base and its personnel. Char boards the Gundam and begins to attack with the Vulcan Cannon. The gun cannon raises his hand towards the Gundam in a confused gesture. One of the hallmarks of the Gundam series is how the pilot's emotions are conveyed through the movements of the mobile suit. That's exactly what we see in the gun cannon's reaction. Char complains that the Vulcan Cannon on the Gundam's head runs out of ammo too quickly. Actually, there was a line in the first Gundam that was cut at the end. It was spoken by a soldier standing next to Temuray. He says it's only got test bullets, so it's going to run out of ammo very quickly. A similar line also appears in the early draft materials handed out at the theater. In that version, Char says so it only has test rounds loaded. Later in the episode, the Gundam uses its head Vulcan gun again. But this time, it fires more bullets than it did during the battle with the gun cannon. That's because it had only a minimal amount of test ammo loaded in the first place. Char's white Gundam and the gun cannon face each other as the battle begins. Char discovers the beam saber, a melee weapon, and decides to use it. He remarks the beam cannon needs to cool down before it can be fired again. Beam cannons are incredibly powerful, but at this point the Zeon forces had not yet managed to equip them on mobile suits. Char judges the weapon by the standards of warship-mounted beam cannons. It's a line that underestimates Earth's Federation technology. When he saw the name Gundam for the first time, he even scoffed at it, saying it sounded vulgar. This scene also repeatedly depicts Char looking down on the Earth's Federation forces. The gun cannon begins a charge attack. This is the same move that Denham's Zaku used in the first Gundam. In the case of the Zaku, it would attack the enemy with the spikes on its shoulder armor. But the gun cannon raises its arms as if to shield its cockpit and begins to move forward. Just as Char predicted, the gun cannon is engaging in melee combat because its beam cannon can't fire repeatedly. But is this really the case? Yes, it is. And the result is exactly what everyone saw. The Earth's Federation's beam weapon technology had already surpassed Char's expectations. At this point, the gun cannon's beam cannon was ready to fire again. The gun cannon's pilot correctly predicted that Zeon soldiers would never imagine that the beam cannon mounted on the mobile suit could be fired against so quickly. So they acted as if they were going into melee, planning to fire the beam cannon the moment the enemy dropped its guard. The gun cannon's pilot had clearly undergone thorough combat training. Later, we learned that Earth's Federation forces used captured Zakus as simulated enemies for training purposes. And the Earth's Federation's beam cannons were powerful enough to destroy a Zaku in a single shot. If the cannon had been piloted by someone with less experience, what strategy would they have chosen? Would they bother to engage in close combat when they are equipped with powerful beam cannons? Wouldn't they try to keep their distance and take out the enemy with long-range fire, if only to protect their own lives? But the gun cannon pilot made a different decision. To ensure the kill, they pretended to engage in melee combat. And they decided to use the beam cannon as their trump card at close range. The idea is that no human can dodge a beam weapon fired at the speed of light. That's the thinking behind this tactic. Char's Gundam activates its beam saber. Just as the gun cannon's pilot predicted, the Zeon soldier opts for hand-to-hand combat. And without missing a beat, the gun cannon fires its beam cannon. As I mentioned earlier, beam weapons are fired at the speed of light. And this one was fired at close range. If it were an ordinary person, he'd take a direct hit and the battle would be over. But Char is different. As Dr. Flanagan says later in episode 2, dodging a beam fired at the speed of light is something that just doesn't happen under normal circumstances. Yet Char dodges the blast from the beam cannon. He then accurately destroys the cockpit of the gun cannon. This scene truly shows the awesome skill of a new type. And so the battle between the gun cannon and the Gundam comes to an end. It's a small detail, but let's take a closer look at Denim's Soku, which appears right after this scene. You can see that the shield on his shoulder is damaged, and the mark left on the shield has a very distinctive shape. In the Universal Century world, beam weapons fire superheated particles. Therefore, when a beam cannon grazes armor at close range, it leaves a unique scorch mark. This kind of effect was also shown in Victory Gundam. It's really impressive how even such fine details are so carefully rendered. The pilot of the gun cannon didn't blindly trust in the power of the beam cannon. Instead, he remained calm and made careful decisions to ensure that the enemy would be defeated. But Char, with reflexes beyond those of ordinary humans, managed to dodge the beam cannon. It was a short scene, but it did a fantastic job of showing both the tactical mind games between pilots and the difference between the new type and an old type. Thanks for watching to the end. See you in the next episode.